Hello and welcome. Welcome to Positively Positive. I am your host, Susan Mintz. This show is amazing because everything, anything, all things related to HIV and AIDS is positively positive. That's who we are. Positively positive. No show like it in the country. And I'm proud and I brag about it because it had to happen that someone and some people had to keep HIV and AIDS out there in the world. So again, I'm Susan Mintz and welcome to Positively Positive. Our guest tonight is from Arizona, a friend of a friend of a friend. And we are getting stories in from all over. And it's marvelous. It's so personal. And that's another great thing about this show. It's not canned. It's not edited. It's not rehearsed. We are live. Glitches could happen. Things could happen. I mean, look what I'm dressed up as. This is serious? Yes, it is very serious. This happens to be Susan Mintz as Positively Positive. So the show is about that. If you have a story or you're personally involved with HIV and AIDS, just get in touch with the phone number that'll be on your screen or Campbell Health Solutions, or you may email me. All this information will be on the screen, and we would love to schedule you and have you tell your story. And that's what it's about. I am very, very personally involved because, as many of you know by now, for 40 years, I've been an HIV/AIDS advocate. And for 30 years since my husband passed from this, I have absolutely thrown myself into it. My wonderful late husband was bisexual. We were married for 25 years, and he was my best friend. But as it played out, and he told me we had to make a choice, and I abstained from a sexually active relationship with him. But it never stopped me from loving him. And until the day he passed, with hospice help, I never stopped loving him, and I wrote. I also teach a class on writing, and I want to talk about that also at some point. But writing saved my life because when he was in the hospital, that's the only thing I could do, is I could write about every day what was happening, the doctors, the meds, everything. I documented in these journals. And then years later, I put the journals into a book. And years later, it became Committed to Love. You can go to susanmintz.com. You may go to the Positively Positive page to see our previous interviews, or you can go to the books page and you can see why Committed to Love is who I am. And the other book I wrote is called And I Held Their Hands with a Hospice Heart. Stories of love, hope, faith, and loss. Mine is about a widow's journey through 4 seasons, hope, faith, love, and loss. So both books are marvelous and have done so well because of you. And therefore, they are on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And I think Barnes & Noble has an ebook, but I'm not sure. I don't check any of this out. I just love to speak to you about you. That's what I love doing. I love meeting you. But anyway, they're available for $22.95 each on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, and I always suggest Amazon for quicker delivery, and you don't have to deal with anything. So, most of you know the glasses do come off. It's time that I introduce my guest. So why should tonight be any different? You know about the show, Positively Positive. You know about moi, Susan Mintz, or Susan Mintz. And the glasses are come off, and I will always say, oh, God, I love the makeup. I haven't worn this much since the 60s. That's the way I dressed. So, without further ado, I am going to say, Shellye Byers, come on into the studio. Hello, my friend of a
Oh,
friend of a friend.
hello, how are you? Hi.
I'm great. We both look wonderful. You look great.
You do too.
It's so interesting. And you spell your name for me, or I can see it.
Shellye.
Oh, that's what I thought.
Y-E.
Thank you. It's wonderful. Tina Krug is your friend.
Yes, she is.
And
Yes, she
Tina was one
is.
of the first people on. We found each other on Facebook. She said I
Oh,
popped up on her Facebook page the same time she popped up while I was on Facebook or something. And so she was so good about it. She just followed right through. And boy, she was one of the first guests we had on there. And
oh
her,
my
her
God.
interview has been amazing. She said that she would be sending me
Yeah,
friends.
yeah. She's a
And when
very special lady. Very
isn't
special lady.
isn't she? And I'll get into all of that. And so I said, when I saw your name, I said, I don't know anything about this woman. And Ricciardo, who's the producer, I said, do you know anything about this lady? And he said, no, I don't either. So then I figured that this must be something here. I just have to delete something here. Forgive me.
That's okay.
Forgive me for a moment. This is what happens when you're live. There we go. An interruption from McAfee Virus wanting me to install something. Not a chance, not on this show. Well, I have a lot of things happen, but I'm not getting off this interview for anybody. So anyway, so she said that when I said to Ricciardo, I said, do you know anything about this lady? He said, no. I said, oh, this is somebody that Tina Krug said. So Shellye Byers, welcome to Positively Positive. And it's so
Thank
nice
you.
to meet you.
Thank you.
How
Thank you.
where do you live in Arizona?
I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I live in
Right.
Phoenix.
You're in
Yes.
Phoenix.
Yes, I live in Phoenix. I've been in Phoenix for 22 years now.
Oh, so
Almost.
you were born there.
No, I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area.
Right, that was a joke. 22. We both wish we were 22.
Oh,
Right.
no.
So you're in Phoenix, though, and
Yes,
you're going to see me look down once in a while.
that's
I
fine.
document everybody because I'll be putting everybody in a book eventually.
Mhm.
So that's why you'll see me look down once in a while. So you were born in Washington, D.C.?
I was born in Kansas City.
Oh, oh. Are you a Chiefs fan?
Definitely.
Well,
Definitely.
they certainly had some interesting things happen today, didn't they?
They sure did.
Wow, they went from ecstatic to deep
Completely
sadness.
nuts. Yes, yes. It went completely crazy there. Yes,
Isn't that's a
yes,
awful.
yes.
So you went then, but you said you were in Washington, D.C.
Yes, yes, and that's part of my story. That's part of what I'm
All
going
right,
to share.
so
Thank
take
you.
me on that. But tell me first though, how do you know Tina?
I know Tina. I met Tina actually. There is this. There's a camp that we go to, and it's an HIV camp. It's called Strength for the Journey, and I met Tina at Strength for the Journey camp. That happens every year, and it happened. We go to Mingus Mountain, so I met Tina at Mingus Mountain Strength for the Journey camp. Uh, about, oh my goodness, it's been probably about 8 or 10 years ago that I met Tina, and we go up there every year, and we connected. We just connected from the beginning, and I don't go every year, but I think Tina goes just about every year, but I don't go every year. But we connect like through Facebook. We met each other through different conferences, different things that we see each other from time to time. Because I think Tina, she lives in Tucson, but
Yes.
so we see each other along the way, and we call each other for certain things, and we just connect because we're in different. She's an advocate, I'm an advocate. We do different things with each other, and we just support each other.
Yeah.
So
It's a sisterhood.
yeah, just a sisterhood that we have.
Yeah.
And
And,
she's a really strong woman with HIV and HIV, and we just support each other. So that's how we've met. So we just keep running into each other. We just
so
keep
take
running
me
into
on your journey from Kansas City. You walk me through. One thing is, are you HIV positive?
I am HIV positive. I was diagnosed in 1997, so I'm a long-term HIV survivor.
And you're on medication, I
I'm on
assume?
medication. I'm on medication.
You look fine.
Yes, I'm on medication, and I am my numbers are good and everything. So I'm a long-term survivor. Thank God.
Well, then now it's your journey. Now it's time for you to tell me how, where, when, and why. Those are all my questions.
How, when, where, and why. Okay. Well, Kansas City. I left Kansas City when I was very young. My dad was. I got to DC when I was 4 years old. My dad was in the Secret Service. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, he was in the Secret Service. He's one of the first African American Secret Service agents.
oh.
That's how I got to DC. But
For who was he protecting?
Nixon.
Or is that the secret?
Nixon.
Is that a secret?
That was a secret. Nixon.
All right. So Secret Service can't tell me who he was. Our father was a
But
secret.
Nixon.
All right.
Yes. Nixon.
Oh, Nixon. Oh,
Nixon.
I go back with him. Okay.
But as far as my with HIV, because my parents, they were divorced early, but with where my HIV journey begins, in 1997, well, like I said, my parents, they were divorced early. My mom was a minister, okay? So I was a little promiscuous when I was younger, okay? But I had 2 young children, and after I had my daughter, biological daughter, I kind of got myself together, and I adopted a young girl, and I decided that, it was time for me to slow down and just do the right thing. And my dad, who was in the Secret Service, he came back to the Virginia area. I was still living in DC, and my dad came back in California, and he decided that he wanted to kind of help me to slow down. And
let me ask you a question then. So you say you were very promiscuous?
yeah, I was one of those preacher's children. You know how they say pastor's children?
Yeah.
They kind of, that preacher's child running wild type thing that they say.
What year were you born?
I was born in 1966.
Oh, well, that's what I can tell, because I was born I was in 46, but we were also in a generation in the 50s, 60s, 70s that you didn't think much about anything. It was sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah, and yeah, I was, kind of a little on the defiant side, and I was kind of out there and just out there kind of being a little defiant. They say do right, and I wanted to do wrong. I did not want to identify with, what my mother was doing. I didn't want to be that pastor's daughter thing. So I was just out there doing my thing, but I calmed down after I had my daughter. And then I adopted another little girl. And, it was probably around 95 or so, and my kids were in school, and I was working.
And you were a single mom
working in the school system. So I was teaching. I have my degree in teaching. So I was teaching in the school system, and my children were in school. And my dad had come back. He had moved to California and gotten remarried and came back. And so, I rented a home from them on this property. And me and my kids lived in their, in their little casita that they had on their property, and just working. And my dad, he was in the church, because my family was really, they kind of was churchy type family. And then, he introduced me to his friend. He wanted me to get married and, start, the family. He just wanted me to do the right thing. And he had a friend that from Kansas City, and he's like, okay, I got this friend that I want you to meet. He's a nice young man. I'm going to introduce you to him. And I did not want to like this guy. And he introduced me to him, and I liked him. I really liked this guy. He was kind of prominent. He owned his own business, and he was on the steward board in the church, and, we hit it off. And so we got together. We were engaged after about 6 or 8 months, and he had 2 kids and I had mine, and we came together, and things kind of moved along, and we were engaged and together. And after, I guess, about maybe about a year or so, maybe a year and a half, I started not feeling so good. I just started not feeling so good. So I went to the doctor, and we hadn't gotten married, but I started not feeling so good. And I was diagnosed with lupus. Because I did not fit that demographic at that
Mm-hmm.
time, because of, young single person family, and because we lived in Manassas, I just didn't fit it, so they gave me steroids, of all things, steroids. And I took steroids for about 6 months. And you know what steroids do when you're
Oh yeah.
symptomatic, and I started falling down, and my bones began to hurt so bad,
Mm-hmm.
and I was starting to have the cold sweats, and it didn't really click with me, but I started having all of those symptoms. And I remember I fell down my dad's steps one night, and I went back to the doctor, and I told him, I said, something's wrong. I told my rheumatologist, something's not right. I think these steroids are doing something to me. And at that time, you have to sign off for an HIV test,
Yes.
and she's like, I just want to make sure, we don't think so, but I just want to make sure,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, sure, everything's fine. It's been a while, years ago I was pregnant, but I know this isn't, but I took that test. 2 weeks later, I come back, and this is how I was diagnosed with HIV. This lady, and this is why one of the things I wrote in my in my description, it was like a grocery list, the way that this lady ran off my test. She's like, this is negative, this is negative, this is negative, this is negative. HIV test is positive, this is negative, this is negative, this is negative, this is negative. And when she said that the HIV test was positive, I tell you, it was like I was in a silent movie. I heard nothing else that woman said to me. Absolutely nothing else. I heard nothing else. The rest, nothing. I felt like my whole life just ended there.
See, I'm writing this down. I will not forget you, that's for sure. But I really
nothing else. I heard nothing else. The rest of that day, my daughter at that time was.
I will remember this. Every story is very different.
My daughter was 10.
But to think that you were diagnosed with lupus first. You weren't married to the man yet, but you were diagnosed with lupus. You've been with the one man for a little while, but you were diagnosed with lupus and then put on steroids, probably pretty heavy duty steroids, because you didn't feel well. And they didn't do an HIV test at first because you didn't sign off on it then. It wasn't automatic. And then you just felt, and you really felt awful. And then you went to the doctor, your rheumatologist, was it, or your intern, ran the test and ran your list of labs off like a grocery list. Negative, 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 HIV positive. You must have froze it in your tracks and really heard nothing else.
It's like I can still, today, 27 years almost later, I can still, that's the one thing that sticks in my head today. It still sticks in my head. And yeah, it's the one thing that I still remember today.
So how did you react? After the reaction, what did you do?
I just froze. And I really, and she was, it was like she was German. So she was very like, oof, 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 oof. And she had no feelings. And she just gave me a card, referral, and sent me on my way that day with nothing. And being an African American woman in 1997 in that area, it was like there was nothing for me.
No.
There was nothing, absolutely nothing for me there. Nothing, absolutely nothing.
You felt isolated. You were totally isolated and alone. There was nothing for you.
Yeah, there was nothing. I know that and I'll go back to church because that's what I was involved in. I sang with the group, and I remember musicians that had AIDS and they were dying, like they get diagnosed and they died.
Yeah.
Remember, I had children my baby was 9 at the time. My oldest baby was 9. My youngest one was 5 at the time. My children were babies. And all I could think of is that I was going to die when I walked out of there. And there was no support. There was nothing. And I had to get in a car and drive from Fairfax County back to Manassas, Virginia, and that was like 45 minutes, and it was just, my head was just so messed up, and I just didn't know what to do. I was just, for a couple of days, I was just
in a daze. For a couple of days, you were in a daze.
I was out of it. And
did you ever do any drugs or alcohol during this time to numb the pain, or did you just?
That's where I'm going with it.
Oh, wonderful.
It took me right back to where I was. It did. I just did that spiral down, and not only that, because I thought that I did it to him, because at the time I didn't even get to him because he denied. I thought that I'd hurt him because he denied the fact he said that it wasn't him. So I thought that it was from the time that I was way back then, because I was not educated on asymptomatic symptoms at the time. So now I know that the night sweats and the achy bones and all of that was the asymptomatic symptoms that he had given me. I knew that. I know that now. But then I didn't. The way that I found out that it was him was because one night I picked up the phone when his then boyfriend called the house.
Oh my goodness.
And before I could even say hello, he asked, "Hey, honey, when are we going to be able to get together again?" And then I had put 2 and 2 together. And that's when I realized, after 6 months, because this was 6 months of me thinking that it was because he would not go get tested. The steps when you're diagnosed positive, that you have to go through the health department and you got to, the steps. Well, he refused to go get tested.
Yeah.
But he already knew that he was positive. That's why he wouldn't do it.
And you didn't think of asking him because you didn't think it was going to happen anyway, and he wouldn't have told you because he was bisexual, let's say.
And he was doing it, yeah. And so I was so afraid that it was, I wouldn't press it because I didn't want to keep. But then when I did, I knew. And so what happened, I ended up, the baby that I had adopted, because of all of the chaos and confusion between me finding out that it was him that infected me, after all of that, I ended up, because I did relapse. I did go back into the drugs and the alcohol and all of that stuff. This is a 2-year process.
Right.
And the substance abuse. I ended up sending her back into her bad situation, back to her family. I lost her for a couple of years again.
Sure.
And my daughter that was 9, my sisters had to take her from me. So I lost my children for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Your story is very similar in that respect. When someone is diagnosed and it comes out of the blue, they're not expecting it at all.
Yeah.
And they spiral the way you want to numb the pain. You do start doing the drug. It's very familiar. That is a common thread that happens, especially back then, before there were medications and before you knew there were support groups and reresources. That's very similar. Your children would be taken away. So you got clean, and then you.
And it wasn't and the thing is that my family was my greatest support. My family has always supported me. My family has never not supported me. My family was the ones that took my children and always has been there for me. My family has never not, they have never treated me any different from my diagnosis. My family has never made me feel like I was dirty. My family has never made me feel like I was different. My family has never separated me. None of them. I have 4 sisters, and none of my sisters, they have protected me. They have, they'll hurt somebody and they still do. I mean, and
so your support system was excellent, or your incubated support system was excellent. Your exterior one you didn't know, but your family at least.
yeah, yes,
You didn't feel a stigma with them. You felt like you were still okay.
yes.
One other thing, whatever happened to the man? Whatever happened to that man?
I don't know, because my father, when he found out, he went there, and I don't know. I don't know. I know that he went back to Kansas City. He did go back to Kansas City.
Okay.
And after that, I don't know what happened to him. I don't know what happened to him, but I stayed my mother remarried and came to Phoenix like 2 years. When I was diagnosed, my mom was living in Phoenix. So I really came here to die. I came to Phoenix to die. I came here to die because I could not take my addiction had really gotten the best of me. And I brought my daughter, because I knew that she was about 12 at the time. I lost the other one. So my daughter, I brought her here to my mother, and I came here to die, but that's not what God had for me.
No.
He brought me here, and there was this place, because remember, this man was on the DL. He was on the down low, right? Now, I always say that God always has jokes for me, okay? And that's my God. My God always has jokes for me. He does. And I'm grateful that he does, because he makes me stronger. He makes me a much stronger person in that. And I'm very grateful, because everything that happens to me has made me the woman that I am today.
And also now your ministerial background from your mother, when you were older and wiser, but you had HIV, you went back to her in Phoenix, but you went there to die. But your background in ministry with her, that's strength in the Lord.
It's definitely done that.
Went back into you then, and that's what pulled you out of this sadness and depression.
It has.
Am I capturing this properly?
You have captured it exactly. You are so right, because I came here to do one thing. He's like, you came here to die, but I'm bringing you here to live. You're going to live. You're going to be a rebirth here. Because there's this place that was right down the street from my mother. It was called the Phoenix Shanti Group. And the Phoenix Shanti Group, I called it a one-stop shop, because it was a place that serviced people that were HIV positive, that had substance abuse issues. And the people there, it was a 2-year program, right? And you know who were my support system? They were all gay, male.
Yes, they're the best friends ever. I know. I was married to one.
They all, and they still are
the best.
Right? And I needed every last one of them. Every last one of them.
That's so good. I had to capture that one. Gay men make the best friends for a woman.
They were, and they taught me how to forgive myself.
Yeah.
Not him, myself. They taught me how to love myself. They taught me how to accept myself. Right. They taught me how to understand that
love yourself.
Disease did not define me, that it was just a part of me. You know, they taught me, that place taught me so much. And when I left there, I was telling my story. I was grabbing women, because there was a lady that because I was there with the men, I had to go and find a woman to mentor me. And the lady, she told me, she said, you have, because you're living with all of the, because I was the queen bee there, and I ran everything.
You were the mama.
I was the mama, and I loved it. And I still do. But it taught me that to learn how to look at people and see just people, to understand just people. I used to do that when I was working in the school system. I did it with children, but being there with them, it just kind of made me evolve into adults the way that I do with children, because I work with special needs children.
Oh,
and
my
people
heavens.
ask me, how were you able to push the special needs kids so hard and not feel sorry for? I say, because they're kids and they have to learn how to walk on their own they have to learn how to be able to stand on their own 2 feet too. And it's the same thing with these guys. I just see people, and that's what I say. I see people, and I had to understand that I had to evolve that into adults too, and just see people. So today I understand that God just wanted me to understand and just see people, and understand that. And now because I am a preacher today, what I did not want to be.
Yeah.
And now I can go into the church and just see people. I don't care who you are.
Mm-mm.
Does not matter. And because of my passion for people that are HIV positive, women, men, it doesn't matter, and to grab people, because remember I told you how that woman gave me my diagnosis. I don't want anybody to get a diagnosis and have to sit there and listen to somebody alone like I did. I don't ever want anybody to have to do that alone and have to walk through that by themselves again. Nobody deserves that.
Did you ever think of not just going to Phoenix to die? Did you ever think of killing yourself?
No, I never thought of that. I never thought of never thought of doing that.
But it's amazing. As I said, I always think God has an amazing sense of humor. He made Jewish people. I mean, that's how I get away with it. I'm a Jewish believer, and I think God had a great sense of humor when this 78-year-old woman who's looking like this has a talk show and talks about HIV to everybody. But I always said, in my book, and on every interview that I've had done on me, which has been a lot, I always say my marriage was from hell, but my friendship was from heaven. He was my best friend. When I looked at him as my husband, cheating and everything, I just wanted everything, as you would have felt. But when I looked at him as my best friend, and I heard God through me all the time saying, love him, stay with him, love him, stay with him, the whole time, I knew that he needed his best friend, no matter what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And when I said gay men, to this day, I think gay men are very rough on themselves.
Yeah.
But I think when women and men interact, it's an amazing relationship.
Yeah.
So this was a group home?
This was like they had like transitional housing places.
Okay.
They had transitional housing.
Right.
So they allowed people in, and it was so amazing. It started out as when people were dying of AIDS, it started out as that type of place. But then when people started living with it, then they started using it as a transitional. And then when people started, like you said, a lot of people that were getting diagnosed, like you said, like I told you, and the first thing that would happen is you would get that, you would get that big boom, and then you would start with the substance abuse and stuff. Then it started doing that, treating people that way, and it would use it as use it with the substance, treat people with the substance abuses and the mental health issues and things like that. So it kind of evolved into it serviced the need at the time for people with HIV, with the HIV needs at the time.
How many people were? Because basically it was almost a hospice in the beginning where people were dying. And then as people started living, when the cocktails came along and the better medications and people started to live, it went from hospice, it went into transitional. And then are you involved with them to this day?
It does not exist now. They closed Shanti about 3 years ago. They closed, the agency closed.
Financial reason.
Yeah. I was on the board. I was on the board of directors for about 3 years. After I graduated from there, I did join the board of directors I was on there for about 3 years. I went on the board of directors for about 3 years. Yeah. I went back and joined the board of directors afterwards. Yeah.
Did you find that because of the regulations with the money that for the support groups, because I know in the 90s, even when Jeff passed, the 90s, there were so many support groups. The mom and pops were running them because it was their sons that were dying, or it was just active. It was just activity, so positive. Even though it was a negative thing, there was so much more action, and it's gotten so calm and calmer and calmer. And because of the medications are just keeping people are taking them, and you're living long and healthy lives.
Yes.
But
yes.
the support in general, the financial support has dried up for so many groups or institutions or agencies that were doing this type of work.
Yes.
And now they're fighting for dollars. Do you find that in Phoenix that
Yes, Phoenix is very hard. It's hard. And that was one of the last ones that really focused on that. And it made it hard for them, because I know that the last time that they were really focused, they started like allowing certain clients to come. And because they had like a certain like target, a lot of the clients that they were having there, because of certain regulations, and because it was starting to become a flop house.
Yeah.
And Shanti they didn't believe in that. And I understood what they were saying. They were like, if this is what you guys are saying that we have to do, then we cannot do this.
No.
They were allowing, the clients weren't required to do the work, and it was becoming a flop house. They were allowed to do drugs, and not have consequences,
Right.
and that it's not conducive to the recovery. It's not conducive to the health. It's not conducive to the standards. They need, if they're going to be there, they need to have the counseling and the therapy that's needed.
Yeah.
They have to go to these classes. They're going to have to attend groups. They didn't have to go group, but they can lay up in the housing all day and do nothing. No, that's not going. They can't do that.
No, it's a school in a way. It's you have responsibilities. If you want to be here, you still have to be responsible. You can't sit around on the couch eating popcorn all day and be taken care of. But you learned through all of this. You learned from where you were born to where you went to where you're in Phoenix. You learned how to love yourself, hug yourself. You learned you got your self-esteem back.
Yes, and as a result of that, because my daughter, remember I told you my daughter was 9 when I was diagnosed, and my daughter, and she was impacted the most as all of this. You know what my daughter does today? She's an HIV case manager. She's
I was going to say she's a doctor, an infectious disease doctor.
She case manages HIV clients today.
How old is she?
She's 35.
Does she live near you?
She lives here in Phoenix, right up the street from me.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, I'd love to have her on, have her too on.
I would have her. I'll tell her that too, because
I'd love to.
Her story is very, it's profound, because she's walked through my journey, and she has that, she has a story of her own, because she's been through it with me,
That's what I want you to do then. Please get her to call and get that link and get on and be a guest, because to have a case manager, what they handle, how they do, what is their protocol, that would be wonderful to have her personal journey, because it's not about all the exterior. This is a personal story. And so to have her tell it through mom's eyes, through her eyes, and now through her client's eyes, it's a decades-long period.
Yes.
Isn't this fun?
Yeah, I'm pretty proud. Yeah, I'm pretty proud.
But isn't this show fun? Don't you?
I love it.
When's the last time you just had this kind of a free flow about it? Something serious subject, but it just flows like a story.
It is. That's why I laughed when the last time I'm like, oh yes, I definitely want to do this. This is I love talking about this stuff. I love it.
I know you do. It's wonderful. All our guests, I have not had to coax them. One of the worst things is when a lawyer says, just say yes or no, or you have a guest on a show, not me, but I mean, even on national TV, and you have a guest on, and it's, pull it out of them. But, just talk. That's what you're on their show to talk, is to talk. So talk. And when they don't, it makes you uncomfortable as a listener.
Yes.
But your daughter will be wonderful. What's her name?
Her name is Shellante.
Oh, spell that.
SHELLANTE.
I wonder if she's a little bit like you.
No,
She'll run.
she's prissy. I'm not prissy.
Oh, but anyway, so no, when I see that name come along, at least I'll know who she is. And that's what. So what are in Phoenix then? What are you doing? What's your other child? Where is your other child?
She is a flight attendant.
Oh, how wonderful.
Her
The
name is
other child.
Alexis. Yes.
One is an HIV case manager in Phoenix. The other is a flight attendant.
Yes.
Boy, do you have an incredible, I can hardly wait for this one airs. This is going to be wonderful. Now tell me what you do personally. Is your mom still alive?
My mom passed away in 2016.
Okay.
And my dad just turned 80. So he's in California. He just turned 80. Yes.
You're close with your mom again. And even your dad, you got close.
Yes. Yes.
The other thing is then, so what do you do then in Phoenix?
Well, I'm very active in the church, and I still go to. I'm working with the Leading Ladies Society group, the same group. Tina, she nominated me for that, so I just had a meeting with them. So I joined the. I'm doing this. I'm sharing my story with them for next year. So I'm on one of the committees for that. And also I am doing storytelling throughout Phoenix, which is I'm sharing my story for various groups and agencies out here in Phoenix. And I'm still advocating for women throughout different agencies here in Phoenix. I just walked this wall.
HIV found you because it needed you.
Yeah.
And I've never said it that way before. And somebody listening might think I said something different. No, this woman contracted HIV from a man she really liked. He was just bisexual. He wouldn't get tested. She found out he had a lover. She left. She had to get clean. So she goes into Phoenix. She ends up living with her mom. She ends up getting clean. And next thing you know, here she's involved with all. This is the community activism. When I said that there's two common threads with this program, this show has two elements that have been with every single interview. One is it has to have a personal HIV/AIDS connection. And I don't care what it's about, but if it is HIV/AIDS, we want to hear your story. The second is community activism. And this is where I think HIV today is, it's getting active again like it used to be. Even a show like this, reaching maybe only 100 people listening. But that's 100 people who might say, it's time to act up again. It's time to put HIV out there again. It's time for people to know it hasn't gone away, but there are places to go and resources to get, and you don't have to die. You're not dying from it. You live a long and healthy life. I think activism is coming back because I know a show like this helps, but people like you don't stop.
Yeah, I don't, because and my thing is this, and I'm gonna tell you something. I think my main thing right now is because I'm not afraid to go and I'm telling you, my challenge is the church. I'm telling you, my challenge is the church, and I'm not afraid to go into the church and talk about my status in there today. And I have done that a couple of times this year, and I make them very uncomfortable, and I don't care. Because I believe that happens there and people don't want to talk about it in the church. And I don't care.
This is a big one. Is your church predominantly African-American Christian?
They know that I'm positive, and they understand that. And guess who they come to when they have problems with their children? And they want somebody to talk to them about that. They come to me about that. And a lot of I just talked to one of the older members today, and she called me and talked to me about some things today. Because they know me and they know that they trust me, and I try to, and I'm open about it. They know my status in my church, and I'm very grateful that God has opened up the door. That, like I said, a lot of people, it's amazing how they don't shun me that way, because even though they know my status, the people in my congregation, they're comfortable with me. And I'm in the pulpit with them.
That's wonderful. But is it a predominantly African-American Christian church?
Yes.
And you know, the thing is that I am also, I as I said, I'm a Jewish believer, but there's a handful of lighter skinned people who are there, but most of them are African American, Hispanic, and it's a real serious, real serious speaking in tongues church. I mean, it's big, and I love it. I've been there 20 years, and I get calls all the time from people in that congregation who know my story, that I'm negative, my books, they know all about everything. And I'm the one that they call when they don't want anybody else to know.
That's what they do. Yeah.
They know I'm negative because they know my choice I made with celibacy, and it's been 40 years, and they know my book's out there and people are reading it. So they know me, but they also know how I'm networked and how I can get people to people. And it's interesting that I probably know the secrets of some of the people there better than the pastor knows.
Yeah. And I get that too. And I'm grateful. That's the door that he's opened for me.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for that. I don't take that lightly today. Mm-hmm. That's why I say that God he really has jokes for me. And I don't take it lightly. I'm grateful that has happened for me. Like I say, one of my mantras is I'm none the worse for the wear. I believe that, and I do. I'm none the worse for the wear. God has done things for me. He's put me in places, and people ask me, if would I change anything in my life?
Oh,
and I tell them, no, I wouldn't. And they said, even if you could not be I told them, I said, no, because this is what God intended. And I'm not the worse for the wear. I'm none the worse for the wear. I'm no, it hasn't, I'm okay. I never thought, I have 3 beautiful grandchildren that I never, ever thought that I would ever see, and God has allowed me to see my grandchildren. He's allowed that. I never thought that I'd ever see my daughter get grown, much less see my grandchildren come.
So how do you see yourself in even a few more years? You run your own organization, or you just be like being on all? I know you're probably as involved as Tina. Your story, as far as the faith and the involvement, is so much like Tina's, and women such as yourself. I know that God chose you because you're strong. You know that you had a purpose, and you just had to overcome such adversity to get to where you are. And all that adversity only made you stronger and has brought you to other people that you've been able to help. It's a really amazing journey when you don't give up.
My goal really would be to have a nonprofit. I've been working to try to organize one, and I feel like that when that time comes, then God will allow it to happen. I'm working towards it, and it will happen when the time comes. I am working towards it bit by bit.
Have you ever written your story out?
I am writing a book, and it's called None the Worse for the Wear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very important, because I teach writing.
I'm putting things. My sister is really, my baby sister. She's really on top of me about that. I'm going to Florida in April, and I have things written down, and she wants me to really have it together so that she can start she's going to start typing pieces.
Yeah. If you need any help or a clue, I teach writing. I've taught it online, and I teach it all the time. People are always calling me again. How do you start? Just one step at a time, one word, one sentence, one paragraph. But just like we talked tonight, you can just even do it into a tape recorder and little by little. But if you need any help with that, or your sister wants any help or guidance, because I self-published both my books, and I've written a dozen more that I've not published. They're sitting in a drawer. But in general, if you need any help with writing, or you know anybody that wants to know how to, just have them email me, and you'll see my email. You can go to susanmintz.com and you'll see my email address. Of course, you probably have it anyway. And how can people get in touch with you if they want help or they need to hear a story like yours? What's your contact? And we'll run it at there.
You can use my email address and just put, use my email address, and then
what is that, so we can put it on the screen?
Ganny'sGirls@gmail.com.
All right, say it slowly. Spell it out for me slowly.
Okay, 1.
The number 1 or
number 1.
Number 1.
G
small g,
A-N-N-Y-Z as in zebra, GIRLZ at gmail.com. When Ganny's
So
girls.
one, and it's a G, excuse me, like go, right? Go like girl.
Girls. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, GANNYZ, girls, GIRLZ
Mm-hmm.
at Gmail. That looks so familiar. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know why, but anyway, that's wonderful because people may, and there got you right there.
Yes.
That's correct, and
Yes.
that's wonderful because people may. I mean, this airs all over.
Yes.
I mean, and that's why people like you, your daughter will be, and you'll tell somebody else from one of your church or your organization. It just spreads like that. And that's what's so great. It's so personal. Oh my heavens. So you'd like to have your own nonprofit?
Yes. Yes. And I'm working on it piece by piece. You know, I'm putting some things together, and I haven't stopped, you know, but I had to slow down a little bit, and because some other things came up, and I know that it'll happen when it's supposed to happen. You know,
Yes.
so.
You can't make certain things happen. And, you know, they say, don't choose your message. Your message chooses you.
Yes. Yes.
And that's a part of it. And so both your children are quite successful. Look at what the stories they have that their mom has gone through, and look how
Both have their own stories. Both of them do. They do.
and they're married with grandchildren, you said?
Well, my younger one doesn't have any children, but my older girl, she has 3 kids.
Oh, the 3.
12, 11, and 7. Yes.
She's the case manager.
Yes. Yes.
She's the one I'm going to be speaking with very soon.
Get her to get over there. She needs to tell a story. She's definitely got a testimony. She does. She has a definite story.
And so, but you are, how does the media in Phoenix, or what are the resources like in Phoenix? I mean, is it Tucson's the capital or Phoenix? I always get it mixed up.
Phoenix is the capital. Phoenix is
the capital. How is it there for people like who are HIV positive? Are they?
Actually, Phoenix has good services. They have pretty decent services here. Actually, I belong to a pretty supportive women's group here. It's called Bob. It's what is it? Bridges Over Barriers. It's a women's group here. Women's support group here. We meet every other Thursday.
What is the name of it again? That sounds familiar. Is that a national one? Are there branches everywhere? Or is that just Phoenix?
This is in Phoenix. It's in Phoenix, and it's a women's group that meets every other Thursday. It's not a national group. It's a little group that we have, but we have pretty good we have pretty decent services here.
Have you had the same doctor for a while? You're infectious.
I have had the same doctor for a while.
Is it a lady or a man?
I have a lady doctor. I have a woman doctor.
A lady infectious disease, and you're very happy with her.
I'm pretty happy with her. With her.
Now, what medication?
I had a woman doctor before. She retired, and I had her for almost 15 years. I was definitely happy with her.
Because there has to be with this as if any, let's say, serious condition, you have to have great communication.
Yes.
And if you don't have that, especially then, let's say in HIV, if you don't have that communication, then you better change doctors, because it's so multifaceted, and where it can hit, where it can be, to keep this and that. You have to have somebody. And what medication, I assume, what medication do you take?
I take, I just switched medications. I take the new, what's the name of it? Oh my goodness.
Is it a pill or a shot?
Just a pill. I don't take the shot yet.
And but you feel good, right? You got energy, and is it a pill, 1 pill a day?
Yes, 1 pill a day. Yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember the name.
I always I like mentioning it, because in case a drug company, pharmaceutical company would like to sponsor the show, I'd be really thrilled to mention it.
I take Descovy.
Oh, that's on TV all the time.
Descovy, and actually my CD4 count is like it's over 1,000.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's over 1,000, and I'm undetectable. So yes.
Oh, it's COVID. That's wonderful. Well, whoever makes that drug, when I see it on TV, we'd like you to sponsor Positively Positive, because we tell stories that are real about people who make a difference in their community with HIV and AIDS.
Right.
Oh, it's so wonderful. I'm so happy. You know, it's so many times there's things can happen and you think that, oh, it's not going to work out. And sometimes I get a little crazy thinking, oh, I'm going to get dropped or we're going to get a storm come through South Florida. We're all remote. Here you're in Phoenix. I'm in Boca Raton in a little condo, and my neighbors are always going by, and I keep saying, please don't talk to the mailbox, or please don't have the dog bark. And I always tell the people upstairs when I have a show, so they'll be quiet. And then here, my producer, Richard, he's in West Palm Beach.
Oh, wow.
So we're all remote, and it works. You know, I had a few glitches in the beginning, but we're really good. And I looked at you and I said, oh my heavens, you and I are we're perfect. I just and as soon as you came on, I said, thank you, Jesus. I said, this is wonderful. So what I want you to do is I want you to keep writing.
Okay.
That's your homework from me.
Okay, I'll do that.
Keep writing. You have a marvelous story and go into detail.
I will.
What people do is get the details. That's what this show is about.
Yes,
details. Ma'am. I want to know every little detail. Put that in your book, or even say every little detail.
Okay.
By Shellye Byers. You know, that's what I want, my story. And with you, you keep writing and you keep speaking out, because God is not done with you yet either. He's not done with me, and he's not done with you. That's for sure. What would you say that the stigma, have you seen the stigma of HIV change, or how do you feel since you've been in the 90s? You've been 30 years.
I've seen the stigma change, but I also, it makes me a little bit nervous sometimes with these young people today. I think today the young people are getting a little lax. It makes me a little nervous sometimes because they, I think this U equals U sometimes. It makes me a little nervous.
Yes.
Because I think they're a little too relaxed.
You bet.
That's what I feel like. Maybe
complacent. They're complacent.
Yeah, maybe because maybe they say that they call it a little old school. You can call it what you want to call it, as far as I'm concerned. But I just think that, like you said, HIV is still it's still here, and if we really want it to HIV to be eliminated.
We talked about it again. Get it out there. The media has to cover it.
That's right. You know, it's still here. You know, and we still need to be aware of that. And I think that.
Yeah. I mean, when I was doing, in the 60s, so when we were doing, it was all rock and roll, and it really was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I think when I was high. People, when I was stoned and I was now, I didn't care who, what, where, or when. It was a lot different. The youth today, one of the things I firmly believe is not only under 25, let's say, but my baby boomer group has also gotten very complacent.
Yes.
And not because of anything that they're seeing. It's because they're lonely. The women are lonely. The men are taking pills that keeps them. And then they want to just have sex because they've got the time, the resources, everything else. I think HIV is going to resurface.
Exactly. And that's with
an insurgence, whether it be young or seniors, because of the media not wanting to continue to cover it, because the drug companies making it seem like it's okay, because all you got to do is take a pill or take the PrEP and you're going to be fine. Complacency in the last decade to 15 years is killing a group of people that's going to come back.
That's what I mean. You know, that's my thought too. That's what my thought is too. You know, I understand the U equals U thing, but I still say that we still need to be mindful that HIV has not completely disappeared, and the pill is just not going to take care of everything. We still need to be mindful that HIV has not completely disappeared, and the pill is not going to take care of everything. It's just
there's no cure, and there's no cure. There's no vaccine. You only have to make safe choices. But when you're high, especially the drugs that are out there now, Then
Yeah.
you're getting high on all this stuff. Our stuff, at least, was, just
Yeah.
marijuana. We were clean.
You can't
There was
make
nothing. What's out there today, you definitely don't even know who, what, where, why, or when you were. So it's a very dangerous mix right now that's going on. I just want to say personally, in case we didn't hear the music, we were so engrossed in our conversation. I don't know, but we have been incredible. I want to absolutely say, Shellye, I thank you for the most amazing, amazing interview. And please give Tina a shout out
I
to her,
definitely,
Miss Tina Renee, and
definitely,
also your daughter.
yes,
And then you have the information where we can contact you at your email. We listed that. And also, we want to remind people, get tested, know
definitely.
your status, and you're watching Positively Positive. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. That's like the song by who is it? Yeah, I'm so excited, that type thing. Gloria Gaynor, or one of them from the disco era. The main thing is, though, that we want you to get tested. We want you to make healthy choices. And thank Campbell Health Solutions and Richardo Jackson for taking the initiative when I approached him about this show to say, let's just do it. And here we are. So in case we do just get cut off, because I didn't hear the music, I just want to say, make sure I got my thank yous in, and that I look forward to interviewing your daughter and say hi to Tina. But anything else now we want to talk about? I feel like we got the show in. We're good. But anything else we want to talk about? What do you like for dinner? Oh, a little late, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it, and I enjoyed this so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, what a blessing. Isn't this show great?
It's so much fun. I had so much fun. Thank you.
You can take a serious subject and you can still make it happen.
Yes, yes.
You have to have the passion. That's all. You have to have the passion.
And
So now that we heard the music, so Shellye, what are you having for dinner?
chicken.